Welcome to my video. This is going to be a completely spoiler-free review of the 2022 game Lumbearjack. In case you needed another reason to choose the bear over the man, think early Sonic the Hedgehog, but much more, like, newcomer-friendly. This is very heavily environmentalist, and I'm here for it. So you know how we human beings tend to destroy nature, including, hurting the animals. Well, here's an animal who picks up an axe and fights back, as the title alludes to. You control a bear who picks up an axe and goes around chopping down, modern technology. And yes, I appreciate the irony of, a video game and now me talking about it on camera on the internet about the horrors of modern technology. The game takes a page out of the book that James Cameron wrote when he decided to make a whale badass in an Avatar movie. Basically, the notion that if you're going to get people to care about nature, you have to make it fight back. You can't just say, but think of those poor animals, which I think there's some truth to. I think there's a lot of Americans who really will not listen if you can't point to someone cool and say, look at what they're doing. Don't you want to be cool like them? Because, conservation of nature has been an issue we on the far left have fought for decades, and for a long time, conservatives just didn't take it seriously at all. I think there's slightly more of a chance with stuff like this and aforementioned film. This could easily be the first video game that you play at all. This could be the kind of thing that you get for a child and then they play. Maybe you are present, maybe there'll be a couple of times where they'll ask, what do I do next? But yeah, this is not like when people... So apparently there are people out there saying that Portal could be the first game that you play, which let's see, I don't remember if I can completely get the exact wording right, but was the video taken down? I know I'm getting the thing right. Oh. Is this... There we go. Laura Crone pointed out that it does not make sense to say, Portal cannot be the first game you play if you've never played a video game. I mean, it could, but, you gotta keep track of a few too many things. And there are, actual penalties if you mess something up. That's not the case here. This game has no fail state, and anything that you get wrong at all, you're gonna get another chance. There are times where, in addition to, chopping down stuff, which genuinely is as easy as just walking over to a thing and pressing, I'm playing on a PC, so the space bar, that, doesn't, there's usually no, time limit or anything on that. Sometimes you're called upon to use a tennis racket to make a bomb that's on a timer, bounce to the right place. Sometimes you're playing golf with bombs also on a timer. Any bomb that you miss, there's going to be another one. You just stand in the same spot where they were being shot in for you to use the tennis racket, or where they were popping up for you to golf with. And you can stand next to a bomb. You can send it to the wrong place, to next to where something that you don't want blowing up is. The timer might go out, it'll blow up, it won't do any damage. The levels are also nice and short, and it's not really a game that ever gets particularly complex with puzzles. It's essentially just, you look at what you have in front of you, and there's never an overwhelming amount at any one time. A lot of the levels here you can complete in about 5 minutes, maybe 15 if you're struggling a little. And there's not a huge amount of levels either. I don't think I'm going to give away in this video exactly how many, in case you want to be surprised, but it's easy to find out. You can look it up if you're interested in that information. But you look at what you have in front of you. You try to deduce, based on what you have, how to proceed. You do the thing, and that's it. There's a number of levels where, over the course of it, as you are destroying these bits of modern technology, you collect like the scraps of it, and you can use that to build a bigger and better, for example, axe. It's not always an axe that you're building. And the bigger one will allow you to break bigger things. And the way to know, sometimes you could tell from just looking, okay, there's no way I can break that yet. But if you're ever wondering, go up to it, swing your axe. The axe isn't damaged if you accidentally hit something, or purposefully for that matter, hit something that you just don't have the axe to destroy quite yet. And I quite appreciate it's a game where you start in the woods, attacking the stuff that's encroaching specifically upon the woods, and gradually you make your way out of the woods, because it is clear you're going to have to take this to the source. I can't put into words how much I love communicating to children, and this game definitely is made to be accessible to children, how evil corporations are. And this hits upon a lot of different things. There's oil spills. There are various scenarios that hurt cute animals. The bear sees that, and off you go. Like, it's, an average kid is probably going to want to save the cute animal. Some of the levels will start with seeing an animal in distress or danger or the like, never in a scary way. And by the end of the level, you'll have helped it. And there's a cute little scene where, the bear smiles at the animal, and the animal, And sometimes the animals will help you throughout the levels. For example, there is turtle surfing. If you have to get onto water, I already mentioned oil spill. There's an oil tanker. The bear can't swim, so, jumps on the back of a turtle, and it controls the exact same way. And that's all, it's just the arrow keys and then spacebar. Sometimes you'll be able to slap some sense into a human after destroying some modern technology, and the game makes clear you're not hurting them. You really are just waking them up. They look so miserable, like all dressed like they're very goth, very dressed in black and just hanging their head. You slap after you destroy the thing. You slap them, and they're like wearing bright colors. Some of them start dancing or doing some kind of, just life-affirming activity. I think the game has a good length. It's not too long. It's also not, I mean, it's not short. About 2 hours will get you through this thing. There's not a huge amount to do afterwards. There's some achievements and such. I would definitely recommend buying on sale, but I always recommend buying on sale. I don't think I've ever been 100% happy with paying full price for a video game, just because there's money to be saved by waiting or looking for a better deal. But yeah, it's not just like immediately, it's not over within the first couple of minutes. There are some games that are shorter than this. And hypothetically, you could sit down with your kid and finish this in a sitting, in a weekend afternoon or something. And I think there's something great to that. Not every game has to be ridiculously long. Okay, that's a false dichotomy. I'm just saying, one thing I will say, if hypothetically this had difficulty settings and or a level editor, that would definitely increase its longevity. Because at the end of the day, the kids don't have to get into that at all. But the physics puzzles are fun enough that there would definitely be people making their own levels for this. You could share those over the internet. Yeah, that could greatly increase the, Now, I think that does pretty much cover. Yeah. I think it's crucial to tell children at a young age that corporations are indeed evil. The people running them are hurting, destroying nature and hurting animals. They're also hurting people. Technically the game does communicate that, because the people working for Evil Corp are miserable. I definitely saw a lot of Meta, Amazon. I'm not going to list every single one, but one of Elon Musk's many, many corporations, one of the ones that have X in the name because he's obsessed with the letter. In closing, essentially the only negative things, I already mentioned, the length will be a negative for some. The camera control is awkward. On PC, you can use Q to turn it left, E to turn it right, or you can use the mouse. It's definitely necessary to turn, because the camera doesn't turn enough on its own. Sometimes, if you don't turn the camera, suddenly the bear will be behind something, and you won't be able to, it's not a problem. I'm just saying, you do need to manually turn the camera, and it's slightly awkward. It can kind of break up the, I do appreciate you can use WASD to move the bear, so you don't have to reach very far to get to the camera turning. But yeah, it feels slightly awkward, and the controls, there is a tiny bit of lag, which a lot of the time is just whatever. It does get slightly annoying once you have to do the time stuff with the bombs. Again, it's not difficult. You pretty quickly get the hang of it, but I do acknowledge, ideally you don't really want something like that in a video game. It should be completely responsive. That would be the very best, like no one ever was. But yeah, 100% recommend this. Just get it on sale. But that's, yeah. And as I think I've made clear, if you're someone who plays video games for a massive challenge and not really anything else, there is not really anything here. I don't know. I didn't go for every achievement, but as far as I understand from seeing people who did, they're not like incredibly difficult to get. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, right. I mentioned there's not an awful lot other than the main game. You can unlock additional costumes for the bear. Not a huge amount, and they're not ultimately super difficult to get all of them. But yeah, the game, it will make it doesn't just put everything right in front of you. You do have to think just a little bit, and it is, it's simple enough that, even if you're not, like, this could also be the first puzzle thing, even beyond video games, if you, yeah, because it's not so difficult that it'll frustrate you, and it is rewarding. There's a lot of puzzle games where I would say, okay, you gotta have played a lot of other before you play that one, which, we end up with, like, well, what do we play then? We gotta have something to ease people into it. A lot of people don't respond well to just being thrown in the deep end and trying to swim. Let's see, I feel like there was one more thing. Let's see. Maybe not. But it is immensely satisfying, destroying these. The visual design is also great because the level design tends to be very intuitive. You can usually get a sense of where you're meant to go next, rather than getting lost. But the various pieces of technology, occasionally there'll be some color, like red to the oil tanker, for example, but they look kind of drab and bleak compared to the really warm nature. And yeah, it's just deeply satisfying chopping up these destructive, pieces of technology and seeing nature, come back. And that's also part of what makes this work. It's not saying there's no hope, because sometimes when a piece of media says, oh, there's nothing we can do about this bad thing, well, it just leads to doomerism. People aren't gonna see that and go like, oh, we better get started right away, because they're just like, what's the point? It's not gonna make any difference. And here, it's somewhat like with WALL-E. Clearly it is possible to make things better, to bring things back to the way they were before we ruined it with modern technology. And yeah, like, I haven't seen a lot of user reviews from, like, parents, but I could imagine this kind of thing could, encourage a lot of kids to get really into environmentalism. And it is one of those things where, like, it's somewhat limited what they can do that has, like, a massive impact, but it's not like there's absolutely nothing they can do that would at least temporarily give them a feeling of accomplishment. I don't know. Do kids still collect cans and do, like, gather? I guess they might need adult supervision for that, but I feel like I've heard that there's still stuff that kids who really want to help the environment can do, that if not making a huge difference overall, at least they feel a sense of accomplishment, like with this game. It helps more than playing this game does. I could see, I think this is a good way to help make environmentalists, instead of CEOs, of the future corporation, the future generation. And yeah, we definitely need more. Yeah, yeah, I think I'm starting to repeat myself at this point. Let's yeah. And just to underline how much the developers love animals, the end credits include a section just for the names of their pets.